We are now officially at the end of what seems to be the lifespan of Generation 9 with the introduction and conclusion to the brand new DLC for Scarlet and Violet being the Indigo Disk. Now I've seen some of the leaks and hints that allude that the journey is not yet finished based on in-game events that have yet to take place and release. However, I won't go into those details out of respect for spoilers, but the rest of this video will be discussing the DLC, so you've been warned if you haven't played it yourself. But man, did this portion of the game really divide me up on how material was handled and what we can expect moving forward with the series. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, did they really just spoil all the big events that we could have witnessed firsthand due to the trailers that they put out? Did it outclass the Crown Tundra? There's just a lot of topics that I feel are worth a discussion surrounding this DLC, so without further ado, let's get into it. We are finally, after over a decade, back in the Unova region, meaning post Black and White 2, witnessing the future of what came to be of Generation 5. An underwater facility with the most sophisticated technology to keep it afloat, while also packing the newly introduced terrarium with 4 different biomes allowing Pokemon to inhabit them. Right off the bat, I was thinking to myself just where this game falls on the timeline canonically. I say this because Mega Evolution is a separate timeline than the main series games, starting all the way back to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is confirmed to be an alternative Hoenn region with this mechanic, and the reference to the tree in X and Y storyline where we are introduced to it and get a deeper dive into the mechanic to know what it's all about. Then we venture into the Alola region, which also contains Mega Evolution. Why is this relevant? Because when the game contains name drops to past regions that didn't fit the canonical timeline of the main series, including Generation 8, with its mechanic being exclusive to its region, when we introduce Unova in the picture, then does that mean that we are in a version of Unova where such mechanics exist? You can say I'm overthinking this, but this is a discourse worth having solely because of the potential next remakes coming for Generation 5 and it allowing us to hopefully revisit Mega Evolution or something remotely similar that contains the requirements to withstand Terra energy to be contained in one space. Yes, according to the lore, we learned that the material brought over from Paldea is what's keeping it in place and with additional inventions created, but if the phenomenon can't be used outside of the terrarium, then doesn't that mean the incompatibility of the Terra mechanic, unable to be used in outside regions, allude to the exclusivity of it being only for Paldea, causing it to be placed in the Mega timeline where this possible version of Unova shares it? It's just something to think about. I made a whole separate video as to what I think the move is for the future of Unova, so you can check that out as I won't be covering that in this video. But the one thing that throws me off with this entire theory that I just came up with is the one region name drop that we also got. Johto. We get a sport ball as a reward during the progression of the story, and the last time we checked, we don't have a Johto region with a gimmick mechanic that's not suited for the main series timeline. But hey, Pokemon Day is coming up in February, so I don't know, maybe something's coming up, maybe something's cooking for us in the background. We'll have to wait and see and find out. Let's get back into the Indigo Disk itself. Honestly, what the trailer showed us was quite literally all there was to it. I'm progressing through the story and what have you, but I didn't find any shocking revelation aside from one Easter egg revolving around Terabagos. If you bring the Pokemon to the Crystal Pool, a sequence of events happen where you meet the respective professor of your game that time travel to the present from the past due to Terabagos' ability, and if you paid close attention to the story dialogue, it revolves around the white book that Briar gives you when you completed the story. It was you, the player, this whole time that gave the professor the white book when he or she explains how they obtained it in the first place and goes over the immense levels of discovery and details of the Indigo Disk. It served to fully flesh out that lore aspect, so in hindsight this could be seen as a time loop. I personally thought this was a really nice Easter egg to have. I would have loved if they kept the new Terra type private for us to discover for the first time in game, but the marketing that dropped this information on their website like it was nothing really ruined the build up for a new gimmick to be introduced, because when you make it to the ending and you have this huge battle, epic battle against Terabagos, you walk in knowing it already exists. You're still questioning how it works, but you knew it was coming. This gimmick is super different from what we were used to seeing for terrestrialization. You don't change typing, so it's not meant to be used defensively, but rather as an all-out nuke attacker, giving what is equivalent to the Gen 5 gem boosting items to give your moves a much better power boost. However, it only happens once for each move you use. The Terra Blast associated with this mechanic is a base 100 attack, but only super effective against other Pokemon who Terra'd at the cost of dropping your own attack and special attack by one stage. Now you'll still get a stab boost for more moves that you use, but it won't be as powerful as if you used it for the first time. I can imagine Pokemon with Contrary like Superior would love this mechanic, as it is purely just a means of going all out on the offense. The DLC really made you feel like you visited Unova. Lots of areas to explore, and the music references places like Route 6 and Driftvale City, while also remixing the trainer battle, wild encounter, and even going out their way to remix the rare wild encounter theme. That was amazing. Even then, the trainer difficulty was up there. Legit strategies were being used against you in a doubles format, so because of that doubles format throughout the entirety of the terrarium, I felt like it was a nice callback to Colosseum and XD Kill of Darkness. The Elite Four were no pushover. Like, sure, you could have stormed through them with level 100s, but even if you weren't being careful, then it would have to make you sweat a bit just so you can dish out that win. Speaking of the Elite Four, we got inside information as that they are all from Unova, and Drayton is the grandson of Gym Leader Drayden. It is hinted that Lakey is also the daughter of Gym Leader Clay. I mean, just look at that random Excadrill on her team given the cute theme that she keeps going on about. All of them had a nice personality with great character designs overall, so I was not disappointed whenever I had to interact with them in game. But man, Kieran? On the topic of characters, let's talk about this kid really quick. I'd say it's been a hot minute since we got a character remotely close to Kieran from a character development point of view. From the scared and shy kid that we met in Kitakama to unleashing his villain arc in the academy just to get beaten again to humble the man, the build up and process that led to him letting go of his desires to be the best in order to beat you and obtaining more power for himself, it was great. I'd say Kieran is one of the best characters in the series. And Briar? A psychopath. I think if the world was ending, she'd be the only one embracing the moment with joy as she discovers how it looks like for the world to collapse on itself. Look at this scene here with Terrapicos. You have a great chance at certain death here with the ground collapsing, and she's completely locked in on the thing that she was reading about without a care in the world. And that's dedication. This dude for sure forgets the name of his grandson like a certain professor I know. Perrin returns, but we don't adventure with her. Unfortunately, she just shows you hints of your respective Paradox Pokemon. If you see over 200 Pokemon in your Pokédex, you go out and catch the Paradox Pokemon, you go back and show it to her, and that's it. There's nothing else to do with Perrin. It was really unfortunate. But let me tell you, the Paradox Pokemon that we got are so cool. Love the designs. I really hope to see them strive in the competitive field. I don't know much about them going in depth, so I will leave that to the professionals that are already going over that stuff so that you guys can get filled in. But if you wanted my opinion, I mean, all the new Pokemon that we got are super sick. Great designs overall, and the techniques that go along with them, very nice. I could not have asked for anything better. Other than that, we got a huge amount of character lore and development for almost the entire cast. The BP contributions you make to invite coaches over to Blueberry Academy and getting to learn more about them and how they interact with other cast members was awesome to see. It's the small details that count for me, like Bracius went out and met Gym Leader Berg and talked about the detail of his gym layout that was in black and white too. I love that. Speaking of BP, there was a lot to purchase. Throwing styles was nice to see return. The item finder machine is actually really nice for Pokeballs because you have a chance at crafting Master Balls, which by the way, I feel like this generation was way too generous with them, almost diminishing its value in a way, but I'm not complaining. I'll take it. The music and the design for the room that you can set was pretty good for you to go over once again the material of Gen 5. Lastly, the Synchro machine has become a fan favorite. Being able to play as your Pokemon and troll your friends is hilarious. Like, all this stuff was pretty cool, right? But then you play more of this DLC, and then you start questioning the decision making that went into this. Now, because this is a paid DLC, there are obviously some negatives that come with this. You can't fly with your respective legendary partner because you can't do the Elite Four trial challenge. The fly upgrade operates like how it did in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire with Latios and Latias. You can't catch the legendary Pokemon returning, and even if you do, and you have the DLC, the Pokemon returning are shiny locked, and they messed up how their IVs are handled too. Typically, you are supposed to be guaranteed 3 perfect IVs, but because of this mess up, you are forced to use more bottle caps than normal. You'd think paying an extra fee would reward you to at least be able to shiny hunt them, because you could in Dynamax Adventures, but even then, you need an online membership to complete the collection of snacks that you need in order to catch the legendaries available to you. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but the Crown Tundra absolutely has the upper hand when it comes to returning legendaries. The Indigo Disk outclasses the story of the Crown Tundra, but when it comes to the in-game content, and especially when competitive is in the picture, you have to take a look at it from an objective standpoint. What's going to cost you less? It's really a shame because not only did they put the effort to putting in the correct music for the legendary encounters, but the process building up to it was another step forward and 2 steps back type of ordeal, and I'm not sure how many times I have to say it to this series. And I want this series to succeed in its entirety. I'm trying to give them the benefit of a doubt here, but even then, not fixing the frame rate for the game even just by a little bit is just ludicrous at this point. I can only partially forgive them for this because they made it possible to get Meloetta now, and we haven't had a distribution of this mythical in so long, so I'm just happy that we finally have access to it again. The method to obtaining it was awesome. It was a nice callback to Black and White 1, and this probably is one of the highlights for me in this DLC. But, you know, it's also locked behind an additional paywall. Oh, Editor Big here. So it looks like the Pokemon Company actually dropped the trailer for the Kitakami thing that's going on, the epilogue that I was talking about earlier in this video where I said I wouldn't talk about it because of spoilers. Well, it would seem that they dropped it. So is it technically spoilers? It's just going to be some additional adventure. I don't think I need to make a video talking about this thing. It's just going to go over some specific details, and that's pretty much it. I don't think it's going to be too long or anything too crazy, but it is going to be coming out, I believe, in what, January? But yeah, there it is. It's official now. All right, back to the video. Let me know your predictions and thoughts on the DLC, and if you enjoyed it, thanks for watching today's final video of 2023. It's been an amazing year for the channel, and I hope you guys continue to stick with me as we tackle 2024 together. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, and until then guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.